Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio. Congressman, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Do you think the EPA is right to do this?
No, this is a bad move. This is going to lock those coal communities into a 1940s, 1950s era economy. Those coal jobs, like the steel jobs in my area in Youngstown, many of those jobs have been automated. There's been a 71% decline in coal jobs over the last 30 years. What we need to do is plug those communities into the new economy, and that means driving investment into those communities. If you look, solar jobs are up 25%, wind jobs are up 20%, hundreds of thousands of jobs created. We need to make sure those jobs make it to those communities, not build a wall around them. That's the real wall Trump's building right now, is a wall around those communities, preventing them from seeing any opportunity to grow in these new sectors of the economy that are providing good paying jobs.
Congressman, correct me if I'm wrong, but Youngstown voted for Donald Trump, right?
No. It was a lot closer than it had ever been. In two of the counties in my district, yes, they did vote for Trump.
I was at a rally there, and there was a lot of enthusiasm when Donald Trump would talk about coal. Are you concerned, or how do you convince the voters in your district that voted for Donald Trump on the basis of this idea that he's going to bring coal jobs back, the same pitch he gave to West Virginia and other coal mining Rust Belt areas, that this is not the way to do it, that the future is not in coal? Just you have to give the Democratic Party or corporations enough time to move in that direction, and then give the workers the training to get there. How do you convince them that that's the way to go?
Well, I don't think it's with training necessarily right away. I think first and foremost it's about getting the jobs into that community and then having the employers who are there train them. But a lot of these jobs, Katie, can be manufacturing jobs. I mean, if you look at what the component parts of a windmill, for example, there are 8,000 component parts: steel, hydraulics, cement, gear shifts, all kinds of things that we manufacture in the very regions where those coal jobs are or around where those coal jobs are. And if we bring those jobs to those communities, there's not really going to be a whole lot of training. If we do a big infrastructure bill, which Trump promised, $1 trillion infrastructure bill, at all of those rallies that you followed him around at, he mentioned that at almost every rally. Here we are, it's October, we haven't seen anything to do with a big infrastructure bill. But here's the thing, those folks in those communities, they also pensions. They're losing their pensions. Democrats need to go into those communities. If there's one point that I want to make, we have got to go there. We can't just assume that we're not going to get those people to vote for us. We're with them on pensions. We're with them on jobs. We're with them on health care. We can't be afraid to go to those communities and tell them where we stand. And more often than not, we stand with them on the issues they care about most.
Are you concerned about climate change?
I'm very concerned about it. I mean, if you look at the fact that there's going to be a 6°C increase in our global temperature in the next 70 years, that spells disaster. But here's the thing. I think there's opportunity within that as well. I think there's all kinds of new ways that we need to approach agriculture that could actually start sequestering carbon. That's very important. I think there's new ways of building things that we have to move away from. We're going to take stuff out of the earth, we're going to make it, and then we're going to throw it away. A more sustainable way of manufacturing. These are sectors of the economy that can create jobs and growth and investment in these things. So we can't see global climate change as just a downside, although it can be very scary to think about. There's also a lot of opportunities here, and the party that figures it out and brings those benefits to communities that have suffered the last 30 years is the party that's going to govern for a long, long time.
Let's talk about that. You want Democrats to get out there to talk to voters in order to try and find a way to regain a majority in the House or potentially a majority in the Senate. Do you think it's going to be hard for Democrats to do that still, as you said in the past, if Nancy Pelosi is still in charge? Second question, follow-up, if Nancy Pelosi would run for leader today, do you think she would win?
You're a troublemaker, Katie. Listen, the bottom line is we have our leadership intact right now, and we've got to move forward with the current leadership team. That means supporting the issues that are important to our constituents. But it also does mean getting new faces out there. Hakeem Jeffries, Cedric Richmond, Linda Sanchez, Joe Crowley. We've got a lot of young leaders that are out there, Seth Moulton, that are real quality people, and I think it helps the party to have other people out there. I don't know what the election would be like today, but the bottom line is we've got to get out of the bubble that we have on the two coasts right now, and we've got to get into the heartland. We have seats that we can win in Great Lakes states. We have seats we can win in the South, in Florida. We've got to go to those communities and make the case. We can't be hollowed up in cocktail parties talking to consultants in Northern California or New York City. It's just not going to work. That's part of the reason why we are where we are right now.
Speaking of the heartland, you tweeted a picture of yourself flipping steaks in Polk County with the Dems at the steak fry. That's in Iowa. Anything
yes,
you want to say about your trips to Iowa, Congressman?
Nothing really, but I will say this, that there are 2 or 3 seats that we can pick up in Iowa. And Iowa's a state, like Ohio, like other states, that we've got to go to. You know, we have very similar things that happen in Iowa. Trump had the biggest victory since, I think, Eisenhower won Iowa. You know, we lost Ohio by almost the same margin as Texas. These are traditional Democratic areas. You know, Tom Harkin was a senator for a long time in Iowa. We've got to go back and win these. And the thing I notice in all these communities in these different states, it's the economic message. It's the bread and butter stuff we've got to talk about that unites us. We're so divided on so many issues, and the American people just want us to come together around issues that concern all of us, and more often than not, it's jobs, wages, pensions, health care, education. Focus on those things, and I think we can get back into the majority at some point.
Congressman, you were quite literally saved by the bell there, but be aware that every time you go to Iowa, we will be watching, and we will be wondering, and we'll ask you about it.
Well, let me just tell you, I will be a lot nicer to you than some other people have treated you on the campaign trail.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Don't body slam a reporter, and that's all we ask. Congressman, Congressman, I'm going to leave it there before I get in trouble. Congressman Ryan.